Hey team, welcome to our YouTube video. Today we're going to be reviewing Jeremy Miner's sales call. And I just want to go into this and say Jeremy Miner's a goat, right? Like he's incredibly good at what he does. We're not looking to critique Jeremy necessarily. We just want to learn from what he's doing. We want to see if we can look behind the scenes, if there's any buying psychology, if there's any kind of advanced concepts that are happening, just so we can enjoy it. You know, what's better than watching game tape of some of the goats within the industry? So take this with its intent, which is we're not trying to prove Jeremy wrong. We're just trying to have some fun, maybe learn something together and just watch Jeremy selling in some of the best ways potentially possible. So let's have a look and we'll go from there.
What's your name? What's your name?
Hello?
Yes, it's Herodias Minor. Who's this?
So he's already starting off with a joke, right? And I imagine, Jeremias. And I imagine this is to kind of break the ice, not so serious, to kind of lower that resistance with the prospect, to be like, okay, cool. I'm just talking to a normal bloke, or like, I'm not getting sold to per se. He's trying to break the ice by joking.
This is
Yeah, it's Jeremy Minor.
was it Jeremy?
What are you doing?
Are you getting one of my reps? I need to talk with my spouse objection. Oh, bro, come on.
Yeah, I mean, like the sarcasm there, it feels really natural, like really human. If you imagine you were talking to like a really good friend, that would be probably what they would say. You know, if you were chatting to your mate about making a decision and he was like, what are you doing? What are you doing, dude? Like, why are you pissing around like that? So this is really cool. Love it so far. Feels really natural, human. He's breaking the ice. Let's see what happens from here.
It's under respect. I'm trying to keep happy wife, happy life, right?
Yeah, for sure. Everybody wants to keep their spouse happy. What's the what industry are you in? You can always get back to related. What industry are you in?
Yeah.
So they're like the signature Jeremy, like, yeah, what's going on, you know? And maybe like, yeah, tell me like at the confusion tone. It's like textbook Jeremy. Does it work for everybody? I don't know. I like it. I personally use it and find it helpful. But if you're not comfortable with it, it can feel a little bit put on. The other thing that he's done here is he's just kind of pushed the spouse objection to the side just to see what's going on underneath. We call this stress testing, where it's like, go a layer deeper, assume that the objection on the surface is not the objection, just go one layer deeper. So yeah, let's just see how he handles.
I'm not video marketing, so we do like video production and social media content for people.
Like your own business?
Yeah.
Okay. And what were you hoping could happen by possibly working with us and training you?
I just close right now.
So in the playbook, we call possibly a softening prime. If you don't have a copy of Playbook, check below. So the playbook is the Neurolinguistic Questions Playbook, where we put together 13 different language patterns, if you will. And we call these like possibly, potentially, maybe, could be. We call these linguistic softeners or linguistic softener primes. And these primes are designed to lower resistance of what it is that you're going to ask next, so it doesn't sound salesy. But Jeremy is a master of these. I think we're going to hear a whole bunch of different softeners as we go. It could be one of those things where you take a shot whenever we hear the softener, take a shot.
You know, probably losing it. I was nearly as like, I mean, we're doing dissect.
Not as many as you like.
Yeah, not as many. We're even good.
So this is really good as well, right? So he said, and this is, I think I've reviewed a ton of sales calls, and one of the things I've noticed is people tend to ignore these like little moments of clarity that could be sought. And by that, I mean, with this particular example here, he said, not as many calls as I like. And so we've kind of given Jeremy the fuel here to be like, hey, by the way, this is my problem. And so what Jeremy's done is we call these like the utilization primes. So it's like, tell me more. Can you define that? Can you go on about that? How so? Repeating back. We also see this in the book, Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss, where he talks about mirroring. So mirroring is when we say the last words that they say back to them. And what they'll tend to do is they'll tend to define it and explain it. This is just so powerful from a sales perspective, because this person is now giving us more ammunition that they're speaking more about the potential problem that they have, and they're buying more into our product. And we're maintaining that frame of authority, which is, I'm directing this conversation. You tell me what your problems are so that I can potentially help you solve them.
Okay. And she just, okay, so I'm looking here. Okay, so I got to know here that you're making around $7,000 a month.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Where are you, what skill level? Obviously that affects your, what you're going to make. Where are you really wanting to be at? Like once you have the right training. And then, like I said, you can always get back to it later.
Probably back to the month.
Oh, 25. Okay, 25 is the goal. So how does your,
So what it looks like he's doing here is he's reestablishing the facts. He's obviously got some notes in front of him that have said that this customer is making X amount of dollars. And in our training, we call this cognitive dissonance, or like a logical contrast frame. So a logical contrast frame is he's establishing that right now the prospect is making $6,000 a month. And he's asked the question, so where would you like to be instead? Or what would you like to be achieving, which is $25,000 a month? So what he's done is he's pushed the objection aside, he's reestablished the facts, and then he's created this logical gap of these two numbers to be like, okay, cool. So that's what we're working with. That's the hole that we're looking to fill. And then he's going to resolve the objection inside of that little box. This is pretty incredible so far. We're like a minute 50 in, and he's completely set himself up for success.
okay, so what's the math? 25 minus 6. So you're losing, do you got a calculator on your phone? 25 minus, you're making 6, you want to make 25. How much, what's the gap there? What's the difference? Is that 18, 19?
Let me pull up my calculator. 25,000
Yeah.
minus
Yeah.
7,000. So about $18,000 extra dollars a month that happening.
Okay, so you're losing 18,000 a month right now.
This is really cool. But this is also another thing that I don't see many reps do well, which is building that gap, right? So taking the gap that we just found and then reframing it as an opportunity cost, because the truth is there is an opportunity cost. If we think about sales training, for example, people aren't necessarily buying a 10% bump to their conversion rate, right? Going from 30 to 40% conversion is not what they're buying. What they're buying is what it's costing them. So if you're a business owner that's only converting 3 out of 10 sales calls and you could be converting 4 out of 10, you work out how much that sale is that you're missing. That represents a 10% bump, and you factor that into your logical contrast frame. So he built the small frame, which was 6 versus 25. Now he's got the prospect to see it as a loss through opportunity costs. What is the cost of an action here? Which is 20, you could be making 25,000, but you're not. So these $18,000 a month being left on the table, and getting the prospect to do it on the calculator is a way for the prospect to internalize it. Because chances are in these scenarios, the prospects, they tend to view their problems through rose-tinted glasses. They tend to see them better than they are, rather than what they actually are. And in this case, it's an $18,000 a month problem that makes more sense to solve than just, I want to make more sales. So, Jeremy's the GOAT.
How you look at it?
Well, is that how you look at it?
I guess.
You guess? So your spouse, how does she feel about you losing 18,000 a month though?
So what he's doing here is he's trying to now I would say try to activate the emotion. So how do you feel about it? Or I can't remember exactly what he said, but it was like, do you see that as a problem? And the prospect's like, yeah, I guess. And so what we're coming up against here is there are some prospects that really struggle to accept a problem that they have. You might have met this type of buyer where we have this maybe A-type personality where it's like goals, goals, goals. I want to go everywhere. I want to do all these things. I want to do this. I want to achieve that. I want to move in this direction. And then when we get them to talk about their current reality or the problems, they go, yeah, but that's not going to happen. And so we're seeing this a little bit with this prospect. We're getting a little bit of resistance here of actually owning the pain of what would happen if nothing changed. And Jeremy's handled this in a way where it's like, well, what would your wife say? Which to me feels really direct. I don't know if I could get away with that, or like us like normies could get away with that. I think because of Jeremy's potential status, like this guy obviously knows who Jeremy is, he can kind of get away with that more direct question. But I think what he's done here is he's done things like, is it? Are you sure? And so what he's doing is he's getting the prospect to reflect on, is it really as small of a problem as you think? And I think this is the key lesson here, where if we notice this pattern in our prospects, we want to challenge it. We don't want to let that fester. We want to be like, oh, hang on a second, that's not true, right? Or hang on a second, actually look at that. Does that actually look concerning to you? And we do that by just repeating it back to them. So that, how does that sit with you? Like, yeah, okay. And he's doing that mirroring thing that we talked about before.
But she doesn't really look at it that way. She's at work in 7J a month.
Yeah. Have you told her what you really want to be at?
Really?
What's preventing you from telling her where you want to go? Because, if you think about it, what's the number one thing that actually causes fights in a family and actually causes divorce?
Probably money.
A lack of money, right?
I personally find if I was on the end of this, it would feel very cheesy. Again, not a critique of the goat, right? I just think for normies who don't have that level of sophistication and branding that Jeremy does, that we would, I think a normal person responding to us would be like, that's just a weird question to ask. What's the cause of it feels kind of led, like we're being moved towards something. But again, that's just personal preference. I don't know if I would specifically do it this way. I would more internalize it for him rather than using the spouse, because I think at the end of the day, the spouse objection is really just a surface objection. It's not the actual reason why the person's not moving forward. The reason why the person is not moving forward, I would say in this case, is he doesn't see sales training as the solution to the problem that he perceives he has. And the problem that he perceives he has doesn't justify the investment to whatever the program is. And so what Jeremy's done is he's reestablished the problem as not as sales training. You're not getting sales training. You're resolving the income gap. You're resolving an $18,000 a month opportunity cost. That would be ultimately why the prospect brought. It's because it's no longer about sales training. It's about the $18,000 a month gap, which when you think about selling a $3,000 program to makes so much more sense than, do you want to grow to $25,000 a month and pay me $3K to do that? We tend to move away from fear more than we move towards the joy of the outcome.
You are correct.
Yeah. So does she want you to stay at $7,000 a month, or does she want you to be 25,000 plus? Because I've got clients in your space that they're actually doing triple, or even up to 25 a month. They're doing triple of that now. So does she want you to stay at 7, or does she actually want you to be at 25 a month?
I know she will definitely be more at peace if I'm making more. So
when you say she'd be more at peace at night, why does?
I guess this is down the same thread of the, what would your partner think? He's also introduced what we call like a third party gate. So it's like, clients in your position have achieved ABC. And this is quite powerful, because if you directly tell someone you're going to achieve ABC, the little bullshit detector kind of fires off in the background, and they're less likely to believe us. But when you frame it through a third party gate, where you say clients in your position have achieved ABC, 2 to 3 times the revenue, it's way more persuasive, because it's not directly telling them, it's indirectly telling them. And it's almost like the art of telling stories. Where we tell stories, we tend to put ourselves into that story as the main character. So clients in your position versus you can 2 to 3 times your income, that subtle indirect selling is way more persuasive than the direct down the pipe. So that was really beautiful. The whole, what would your wife think, blah, blah, blah. I personally wouldn't go down that route. But again, we're not trying to critique Jeremy. It's just like a personal preference of how I sell. I would keep it more internalized, trusting that the externalization of the wife objection was really just an internal, deeper objection to the value or the problem that the program solved.
Does she not have that peace right now?
well, honestly, I'm not really making enough to catch bills.
Okay.
And so
I'm not sure. You can tell. It's off the record. I'm not going to go post it on your Facebook. I'm not sure your bills.
I mean, that's a little bit awkward. Off the record, not going to post it on Facebook, and it's on YouTube. But I think, when you have a big enough brand authority, you can get away with these little things. But I would just say, if you're a normie like me, like us watching this, I wouldn't do stuff like that. I wouldn't say things like that.
do about 8,000 a month bills, give or take. So it'll,
And is she being forced to work as well because your income's at 7, or what's she doing?
yeah, she's been picking up some side shifts just to make a little bit extra.
Yeah. Okay.
So what he's done here is pretty good. So he's tied the pain of the bills. So like, what are your bills, to create a sense of urgency. Then he's also tied that to the wife being forced to work, which it's pretty bold. But it's in line with how he wanted to handle the whole conversation. If you like that, if that feels comfortable for you, sure, do it. I think for me personally, it's a little thick, but Jeremy's the goat. What would I know?
So do you want her to have to keep doing those side shifts if she didn't have to?
Not at all. I'd rather her stay at home with our daughters and take care of them and raise them.
Yeah. How is she going to be able to do that if we don't train you how to sell so you can get up to where you want to be?
Well, I don't think she'll be able to unless I can figure this out.
Yeah. Whose responsibility is it for you to figure?
This is interesting, right? So he's tapping into the real core driver of the person now. And so what the guy just said is like, I would rather her stay home with the kids. So what this guy's really buying from a problem perspective is I have an $18,000 a month hole in opportunity costs. I also have $8,000 a month in bills that aren't being paid because on average I'm doing 7K. So what Jeremy's done really well here is he's reestablished the problem, ready to stretch it out. Now, what the prospect's given him is the ideal outcome. What does he want? He said, well, I don't want my wife to be working. I want her to be home, ideally with the kids. And so we kind of have this beautiful gap now created that he's doubling down.
Out.
Me,
Yeah.
flower in it.
Yeah, that's probably why you got. That's why you actually call us, right? We don't have salespeople that come to us that want to learn how to sell less. They always want to learn what, how to sell more. That's why people come to us for your industry. Because you said something in the beginning. You said out of respect for her. I wanted to come.
All right, he did the whose responsibility is it thing. That was actually masterful. That was really beautiful because it was very natural, rather than if you get to the end of the conversation, then you're battling with the person. And it's like, have you heard that metaphor? Heavy is the crown. Whoever wears the crown has the weight of the responsibility. Who has the responsibility? It's like quite direct. But this one here was a very subtle, natural in conversation where he's just asking a quick question that makes sense within the context of the chat that's going on right now. Whose responsibility is? It's my responsibility. Great. So now he's brought the ownership back to the prospect. So that's cool.
Back with that. So when you say out of respect for her, and the financial situation is not where you want to be, and we, as like you said, when we don't have the finances, that's the number one reason that causes what? A divorce, right? So
It just, I don't know about you, but like to me, that feels really thick. Like I'm going to go buy sales training. If I don't buy sales training, I'm going to get a divorce. Maybe, probably not. My wife's been with me when we had no money. She'd be with me when we had lots of money. Like, yeah, a little thick for me, but hey, whatevs.
because if you were like, let's say, because I know you're here. Where does he live? Where do you live, Josiah? Let's say. Oh, you're here in Arizona. Okay. Well, okay. So let's say that you're in the summer, right? So it's getting closer to summer. Let's say in the middle of June, it's 112 degrees outside. Your air conditioning completely goes out of your house. Would you need to like call your wife and like ask her for her permission to fix your air conditioner? Or would you just like, I gotta fix the air conditioner. I just gotta do it.
Just live out here in Arizona. I'm just doing it down.
And that's because your air conditioner in the summer is a what? That's it's a necessity. So would you say your financial ability to provide for your family is also a necessity?
I mean, it feels, I don't know, man. Like if you put yourself in the prospect's position here, does it feel good? For me, it doesn't feel great. Like it doesn't really matter if it's a necessity, if it's a need, if it's a want. I still courtesy chat with my wife. It's like, oh, hey, babe, the air conditioner broke. I'm about to drop $3,000 on. I'm getting it fixed, obviously, because we need to get it fixed. Yeah, cool. Makes sense. Thanks for letting me know. Like we still, because we operate as a team, as a household, which is, I guess, a philosophical difference. Like I don't believe in handling the partner objection. Like I think at some point, once you've flushed out the real objections underneath the surface, then it is just kind of a courtesy that you have. And no matter what they say, training courses are never necessities, right? It doesn't matter how well you linguistic jujitsu it up. An information product is never a necessity. And if you think when we go into like recessions or tight economic situations, it's the first thing to be cut. If you're choosing between an air conditioner and like a $3,000 sales training, the sales training gets cut first. These are not necessities. So, I mean, a slight philosophical difference here.
But no, I would say so.
Yeah. And what's going to put you in the best position to actually take care of your family?
Close more deals, that's for sure.
Yeah. So if closing more deals is a necessity, you have to master how to close more deals, correct? So if that's a necessity, just like your AC, why are you putting that burden on her shoulders to decide for you?
I guess
You've got to love his tone though, eh? Like his just gentle, curious tone of a very direct question. Like imagine if you asked it in a direct tone. It's like, it's like, if it was a necessity, why are you putting that decision on her? Like it would be really strange. So you got to love his tone.
shocked about it like that.
Well, if you really thought about it, like whose responsibility is it to actually provide for your spouse so she can actually stay at home and raise your kids? Is that her responsibility or?
That would be mine.
Okay.
This is kind of cool. So he's looped back to the initial whose responsibility is it? And then he's tied it into his dream outcome. That was beautiful.
Hey guys, Jeremy Miner here. Look, a lot of you leave comments wanting me to help you sell more. So the easiest way to get a hold of me, the quickest
to be able to change your situation and start closing more deals. So like you had said, you could get to what you had said you wanted to make, 25,000 a month.
Just take the way trading, I guess, right?
Well, yeah. Okay. So are you ready to actually to be able to change and put you in
Right now, let's get back to the training video.
So what's going to put you in the best position to be able to change your situation and start closing more deals? So like you had said, you could get to what you had said you wanted to make, 25,000 a month.
I love this. I think this is absolutely beautiful. So this is getting your prospect to sell themselves to you. So, you know, what are you going to need to do in order to get you to your ideal outcome? What are you going to need to do in order to get you to the place where you have the $25,000 a month so that you can get your wife to stay home with your kids? And this is beautiful. So rather than saying you should join our program, the most effective way to get the prospect sell to you is ask them directly. What do you need to do? Like, what do you need from us in order to make your ideal outcome happen? This is beautiful.
Take the way trading, I guess, right?
Well, yeah. Okay. So are you ready to actually do that or just stay where you're at?
I saw a lot of experience today, I think, and then know exactly what I need to do. And that would be it. Just do it.
No. Yeah, because I want to ask you this. I'm not saying. How many of your prospects that you talk to that you know you can completely change their situation? Like you do videographer, right? It's a big space we train. You know that if you go in, you change their branding, you get them all these organic leads, their business is really going to grow and scale. And then at the end, even though you know you can solve all their problems, they say, you know what? I think I need to talk to my spouse. How many of your prospects say that?
Definitely a lot.
How many? Like if you're talking to 10.
This is really cool. So now he's using his own business as an example, almost like an identity or congruence thing. So he's about to launch into, you know, like if you're doing this with me, chances are your prospects are doing it with other people. And this is a really powerful like congruency frame where it's like how we do the small things is how we do the big things is the kind of technical term, if you will. So it's like, if you are giving the objection here, chances are you're getting the objection over there. If you don't know how to do what we did today, then you're going to have it done to you. And if you've seen that today was valuable in what we've done and, you know, going through the objection together, then you're going to want to learn that skill, right? Yeah, absolutely. So he's not just getting the sale. He's also going one step further and proving why it's a really good decision. And I think this is masterful. Like this is definitely something that I could include more in my game.
How those 10 would actually say that? Like, be real with me. You can tell me we're on the same team here.
At least 3.
Okay, so at least 3. Well, what do you say to them when they take that?
Just your relation, direct response to kind of just letting you go do it.
So he's asked him to quantify how much he's losing because he doesn't know how to handle the spouse objection. And the guy said 3 out of 10. And he's just kind of doubled down and said, well, you know, if you don't know, how are you supposed to figure it out? So, I mean, he's the GOAT for a reason.
Do you know why you do that?
Is I just understand it, feel bad.
Because you bought into their story that they need to talk with their spouse before they do that. Because how many of those people actually come back and buy realistically?
A little to none.
Okay. And had you ever considered that since you did that objection yourself, it's really hard for you to help them overcome that objection? They give it to you because you believe it yourself. Are you okay with me saying that? Okay. So do you?
That was beautiful. That was truly masterful. So he's come back and he's launched that congruency frame. If you do it, then they're going to do it. And then he softened it with are you okay if I say that? Which is just beautiful, right? So like, it just takes the sting out of it, makes it feel more human. And like, yeah, just this closing sequence is chef's kiss.
I mean, train you how to actually prevent the spouse objection from happening. And if it does happen here and there, I'd help them overcome it so you can actually help them, because you got the videographer work to really help people on this, right?
Of course.
Yeah. And the more you learn how to help them overcome that concern and prevent it, the more sales you make. And when you make more sales, the more people you get to what? Yeah. Are you ready to start helping more people?
You are ready. That's
Okay.
brilliant.
Right.
Something perspective.
All right. Now I'm going
I'm down.
to pass it over to May. Now I'm not going to pass it over to May and you're going to like come out with like, well, May, like I need to go talk with my grandpa. I need to talk with my uncle who lives in a van down by the river. I've got to talk to 70. You're not going to be like one of those type of average salespeople.
Probably not. Not even that.
All right, brother. I'm going to turn it back over to May. You'll do well. Just plug in the trainings and commit to mastery. You good?
Amazing. Thank you, Jeremy.
Yeah, perfect. Anytime, brother.
So this is really cool. So he's done almost, when I first learned this, it's called like a puppy terrorist close to prevent an objection. So he's gone, you're not going to do ABC objection when I pass over the phone like other average salespeople. And this is kind of what we call, my mentor used to call the puppy terrorist close, because it was like, you don't want to be a terrorist, do you? you want to be a puppy. And people, or like, you don't want to be like the terrorists, you want to be like the puppies. And when we get presented an identity frame like that, we tend to gravitate towards the thing that makes us look better in other people's eyes. And so he doesn't want to identify as an average salesperson. So he's not going to do that objection because that's what average people do, if that makes sense. He's going to do the other thing. So this, even just right at the end, in the last 2 seconds there, he's just dropped absolute gold. So I hope this was valuable. If you like this kind of content, just let me know. If you would like to get a copy of our playbook, it'll be link in the first description, link in the first comment, link in the box down below. You can grab a copy of that playbook. We're going to be doing some more of this stuff on the YouTube channel. So if you'd like to stay here, there's probably another video you could check out that you'll really enjoy. Bye for now.